keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage, and I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares, nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling and flare. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario on stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away, asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so no-go, lost my mind, oh no. It's Ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you.
Hey everybody, the Anti-Media Radio, once again with your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY.TV. Make sure you guys bookmark UCY. Check out all the other awesome hosts tonight. If this is your first time joining us, chime in on the chat or feel free to give us a call and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Chime in on what me and DB are talking about. I'm joined here by my co-host DB Schwartz tonight. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing well, man. It's starting to hit home now because I'm looking at the internment camps here, and they're starting to move people up to Murrieta, which of course is our neck of the woods now. And these kids, man, and then trying to reunite them with the families, and the doctors can't check everyone, and then of course that's going to spread infectious disease. And yeah, nice little litmus test they got here before the big boom. Another one of these little tests.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think it is too. I read an article today back from 2011 from Activist Post, basically talking about how they're going to test run these FEMA camps that we've all been talked about. I don't know what you want to call them, internment camps, FEMA camps, detainment camps, whatever it is, but these people are being thrown in these basic prisons. You know, you got kids sitting there locked in cages, hundreds of kids all thrown in together. Apparently they're only being, the ones that are sick are being quarantined off with caution tape, apparently. They're being held in the same rooms and stuff. So I mean, we're treating these people like animals. Half the damn country is applauding it. And in fact, they think they should be treated worsely, it seems. And then it's kind of it seems to me like a test run. You know, you look at these things, and it's you see a bunch of young males thrown in these rooms, locked in a cage behind bars. Basically, I mean, it's not a pretty picture.
Well, if you heard what Biden said, he said we need this unmitigated flow of new immigrants to come in to help the economy boost back up and boom. What he's not saying is quite simply, we need bodies for the meat grinder for what they know they're prepping for, and most of these guys that are in military age are going to get their citizenship through joining right before we need them. Yeah, you can imagine several million of these guys coming in and joining up.
Yeah, and you know, here's the other thing: they need new taxpayers to try to keep this Obamacare thing afloat, because we all know this is a sinking ship as well. So they're going to try to do whatever they can to do that. Now, everyone's abuzz with this whole damn Hobby Lobby thing. First off, considering the fact that this whole thing is not even scratching the surface of what's wrong with the country and what's wrong with the healthcare system, it's a Class A distraction, let's face it. So, This thing is a giant distraction. That's pretty apparent. And now, what happens whenever they pull these distractions? Something big. So while everyone's talking about this stuff, that whether you're for the Hobby Lobby decision or against it, doesn't really matter because you're not even scratching the surface of what the hell's actually going on. So let's face it, something big's going to happen, and everyone's going to be spooked up by this stupid Hobby Lobby thing, and we're not even going to notice whatever it is that they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. I've been looking for it, and I've been trying to find it. Obviously has something to do with the Middle East, so I think everyone just needs to be aware of that. Understand that the Hobby Lobby is a huge distraction, and we got to move on from there, I guess.
And it's asinine because it clouds the issue. It's like saying, "Listen, we're mandating that you have to get healthcare coverage, correct? But there's no government assurance of anything. In fact, your own business can pretty much pick and choose what they're going to decide to cover. What if you worked at this opens the door for everything. What if you work at Walmart and you are a manager and you do have health care, but just to save a few more bucks, they decide we're not going to cover anything that has to do with your own stupidity. So say you go out and do something they decide is stupid, and they decide not to cover when you get hurt and you just go bankrupt because of that. That opens the door for this. This is going to make selective health care on a level people have never even thought of.
Yeah, and one point that no one's even mentioning, man, and this is what gets me, is that we talk about this Hobby Lobby thing, and everyone's just scratching the superficial issue. But here's the thing for me, and here's the part where I halfway agree with the people on the left here. It does put the corporations above us, but what's new? The corporations have been above us. They've been having more rights than we do. They have no liability like we do. If they do bad credit, guess what? Doesn't matter. Now, basically, what this ruling is saying is that corporations have the option to opt out of basically a tax because, according to the Supreme Court as well, Obamacare is technically a tax, and that's how they're able to keep it intact. So, if these corporations are able to say, "Hey, well, I don't want my tax money being spent on these certain things," great. I mean, that's a good development. But here's the thing that's so effed up about it all. What about you and me? Why can't we say, hey, I don't want my taxes being spent on bombing Iraqis out in the Middle East, or I don't want my taxes going towards corporate welfare. I don't want my taxes going towards subsidies for big oil. Now that's the biggest part of this ruling that really has me mad, is that it gives the people the right to choose as long as you're a corporation. But if you're just a regular person and you don't have the money to fight a battle all the way to the Supreme Court, guess what? You're just going to have to bite the bullet and pay every tax that the government shoves down your throat, no matter where it goes, no matter how much you're against it, whether it's you're personally against it or it's because of your religion or you just don't believe in it or you think it's wrong. Doesn't matter. You're paying it, bro, or you're going to jail. That's it.
And it's all complete divide and conquer, fake divisions in something that we shouldn't even buy in anyway, which is government should have nothing to do with our health care. It should be on the private market. Like Dr. Paul said back in the day when he charged $50 to deliver a baby, and that would pay enough for him. So see, it was so much better back in that day. And yeah, there's more people now and things are more complex. But, there are still countries in the world where doctors make house calls and there are personalized caregiving. So it's, asking the government to get involved is going to make this shamocracy shine through, which is going on now. And now what we're seeing is the UN creeping in everywhere it can. It's going to start in Detroit. It's going to pull in everywhere. It's going to be like these black inky tentacles. And it's going to coincide with Obamacare being mandated in 5 months from yesterday in a way people don't even get. When there's going to be a Social Security number out there and the person's not deceased, that Social Security number, if it doesn't already have health care, will have Medicare put on it automatically. So all these so-called supposed illegal immigrants coming over with these bogus Social Security numbers, this is going to just add on to it, keep adding and piling onto it, and to the point where, well, there's just more takers than givers.
Yeah, man. So these I understand the left's anger at this issue, at least partially. Because it does put the corporations ahead above everybody else. Okay, that part I agree with. Do I think that corporations should be forced to subsidize things they don't believe in? No. I don't think anybody should be forced to subsidize anything they don't believe in, and therefore the whole law needs to be gone. So these conservative, quote-unquote conservatives that are applauding this ruling are just basically digging their own graves here, basically, because these people supposedly don't believe in Obamacare, but Obamacare just got solidified by this ruling, more or less, and they're sitting there applauding this thing. And now guess what? Those same people that were out there celebrating that this corporation doesn't have to subsidize reproductive medicine or whatever. Guess what? Guess who's going to pay it now? They are, because they are the taxpayer, and they're the ones that are going to have to be subsidizing Obamacare. So yeah, maybe the corporation doesn't have to pay it, but guess what? Now you and me got to pay for it.
Well, there's only one solution, unless people actually decided to become herbologists and take their healthcare back in their hands. And let's face it, they eat junk food. They're not going to. So the other alternative is this. We have to just gut it out. We don't have any more of these departments of health unless it's a Veterans Affairs or it's for the government employees themselves. Get out of our healthcare. Let it go back to the free market. Let a doctor make $200,000 a year with payments from his patients. We have so many doctors now that are subsidized by the system that are poor doctors that would never be able to practice medicine here. And they just stay because they know they're subsidized. And the great doctors in the world either work privately or they go somewhere else. So this is what's going on right now.
Now here's the other angle that a lot of people have overlooked. And now here's the thing, because the left understands this a lot, and the right knows it, they just don't really talk about it. But let's talk about the corporate welfare in the form of patent trolling in favor of big pharma. Okay, and now if you look back at the TPP leaks, the TPP is going to be basically the patent trolls' wet dream, where they're going to basically do away with all these generic drugs. Now, one of the reasons why our healthcare is so damn expensive, and the reason why people are so mad that now Hobby Lobby isn't going to be subsidizing this medicine, because it is very expensive, but the reason is because they allow this massive amount of patent trolling. You know, and these guys get this crazy amount of time to have exclusive, to make this medicine exclusively. So what's going to happen? They're going to start making a black market for reproductive health. You know what I'm saying? And then it's going to be like ecstasy. You don't know what the hell's in it. You know, so we have to understand the reason why the healthcare prices are so damn high, and the reason why they're able to pass this bogus stuff like Obamacare, well, it's because the regular people can't really afford this medicine. Because A, the patent trolling, and then B, you got all this corruption, this revolving door. The FDA is basically, halfway funded by the pharmaceutical industry, and then the other half by Big Agra. So you got this corrupt situation. Almost every country in the world has cheaper medicine than the U.S. I mean, go down to Mexico. That's what a lot of people I know, they go down to Mexico to go get their health care because it's cheaper. It's like a fair price. It's like a market price. You go get a tooth pulled, okay, $100 or whatever, because it's actually fair pricing. It's not when you come up here and, oh, you want a tooth pulled? Okay, a couple grand. So it's a whole different system. The government has completely ruined it. And so that's why I'm not in favor of giving the government more power to make more mandates, because the government has already run its route through the medical system, and it's already ruined it. We don't need more of it. We need less of it.
Right. I mean, less of it in every facet of our lives. They really don't do much except, create a giant behemoth of a military that kind of dictates what the rest of the world does and feeds this elite class that feeds out people around the world in their own elite classes, and that's how it works. The corporatocracy starts and ends here, and it's enforced here, and then other nations play this game of, we're against this and that, and we're going to start a war, and that's all just a big puppet show. We just have to end the reliance on a few people and make everybody rely on themselves as much as possible, and it just kills the stranglehold of the power. Because once people don't need these people anymore, they're going to start to question why they have these things like B-2 bombers and underground bases and nuclear power plants underneath the White House and things like that cost billions, if not trillions. And it's not for our benefit. It's for them to start some crazy war, wipe everyone out, and be safe themselves. And that's all it's for. So that people start to connect the dots just from these little issues like this. And you can see what's going on, man. Whenever the UN comes in, and supposedly they're already here, I've been looking at some videos, all these things are into play right now. The things we've been talking about for years and years and years, I guess it can't wait because the economic collapse is pretty imminent.
Yeah, apparently the UN is coming in, is going to try to intervene with Detroit, with the whole water shutoff situation, and this is completely ridiculous. I mean, we're intervening in Syria.
The border. Well, they're right here, Nick. I don't know if you know that, but the UN is right here, right now, at the border.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know that right now.
Yep, it's here right now. In fact, it might be even a good idea to go down and see what's going on, but it's going on now because there's 400 children a day spilling over, so it's a crisis.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely a problem. And if you look at why a lot of these people are coming, I mean, we talked about it before. We've overthrown almost every single one of those governments down there, and now guess what? The blowback is coming. The people now we overthrew the government, set up a repressive regimes, installed the drug war and the anti-drug governments. Gave them a bunch of money, and then all the poor people are having to reap those reactions to these actions that we've done. And now it's become an unlivable situation in a lot of Latin America, and now these refugees are coming up here because of what our government has done. And all these people are blaming these refugees for coming. It's not their fault. Our government has done more ruin than anything else down there, and it's a manufactured crisis. We're causing it to happen, and now the simple-minded people in this country are blaming it on the immigrants, which is hilarious because if we actually had a legitimate system, immigration is golden. You'd love immigration; it's great for the economy. If we didn't have this huge corrupt system that people fall through the loopholes in.
I know, and we're only talking about probably what they're estimating 65,000 children. Are people really that worried about that in a nation of 300 plus million? That 65,000 children can be reunited with their families that came over here illegally or legally, so be it. There's going to be an amnesty act that comes because we really need to start taxing these people and find out who they are and where they are and make sure that they're not criminals and stuff. And then either the border will be shut if enough people want that, or if enough people are like, well, maybe we should do some leniency, NAFTA will be created. Either way, it's win-win. You either make Prison America or you make NAFTA. Either way, it's a win.
Yeah, and you got massive amounts of armored vehicles being distributed everywhere. They got at least 2 here in my town where I live, city, I guess. And this is all coinciding with this terrible economic time. Well, you wouldn't know that by looking at the stock market. But then again, they're completely detached from reality. We're looking at real tough economic times, massive inflation, and now guess what? They're authorizing the National Guard to go down to the border. They're authorizing, like you said, the UN. They're militarizing the border. There's things about to hit the fan. I mean, they got all these camps opening up where they're basically running test runs on these detainment camps, which can be used for various reasons. I mean, back in as early as World War II, they used them for the Japanese, and now they're using them for the Latin Americans that are coming up. So, once people start to say, okay, well, let's house them in these detainment centers. That's just getting us ready mentally to have other people in these detainment centers, and then no one's going to care about them either. So they say as soon as they can make someone into a boogeyman, they say, oh well, we need to round up all these right winger militia guys, which they have a lot of them are misled and they think maybe they don't understand what's really going on, but still, that doesn't mean they need to be rounded up and thrown into camps. But if they're able to demonize a certain group enough. Just like the Latin Americans have been demonized, we're holding children in basic FEMA camps, and nobody's really not that many people are causing a scene about this. It's pretty scary situation.
Right, and it hasn't affected them yet.
Yeah, and Americans are just taking it in stride. In fact, they're better that than having them on the streets, and that's the mentality that's going around.
They're ridiculous, and it's so obvious to see how everything's going to unwrap now, Nick. What we've been saying forever is going to go down just like it was planned, because they've been litmus testing things, and people now are so numb, and they're so conditioned to the new normal, and they can pretty much do anything to them now with the fireworks shows that come up with holographic imagery, man, they can make anything happen. So it's easy to dupe people. People still believe the news. They still believe the New York Times, and they still think those places are credible, even though they have corporate giants for masters, and they're in the Matrix. And the thing that happens when you're in the Matrix, when you don't wake up and you're no longer useful, is you get dumped out into the trash, and that's what these FEMA camps are exactly what they're built for.
Now, here's the other thing that's scary, because now we know that Congress, for the most part, is completely garbage, but there still are a few decent congressmen up there, and they are still kind of beholden to their constituency, a little bit. But now there's congressmen that are going down and trying to visit these camps to get in there and see what the hell's going on, one way or the other. I don't know whether they're left or right, I don't know. But guess what? These camps now are becoming so secretive, they're not allowing congressmen to go in there and see what's going on. And that is very, very scary. The fact that they're being so secretive tells you something.
They wouldn't let Bilbray in. I guess he's making a stink because he's a former Marine. And even though the guy is probably still this corporatist guy, he is United States of America guy at heart, man. He, Semper Fidelis, so he knows what's up. And I don't think they wanted him down there, so something happened where he couldn't visit. But this is it, man. This is it. This is the UN takeover they've been talking about, and it should be the biggest. It really should be the biggest news item in the world right now. Why does the United States of America need the United Nations to help us? Why? We're the richest country in the world, and if you think we're not, take a look in the mirror and look at yourself, because even if you're poor, you're living the dream. We are fantastically wealthy. And the fact that we need the UN is a smokescreen.
I mean, Obama just asked for $500 million to send to the Syrian rebels, who are, partially aligned with this ISIS fighters and stuff. So the fact that we're sending billions of dollars overseas, yet we need the UN to intervene on something as simple as people in Detroit getting their water shut off. What kind of nonsense is this? This is like it's not even real life. We're sending money out to these.
Why do we need them? I thought the UN was there to provide humanitarian aid for countries without our resources. I thought we were funding the UN. Why is the UN now coming back in any capacity within our borders whatsoever? We don't need them. We have trillions and trillions of dollars of assets that we could liquidate overnight and wipe our debt out like you wouldn't believe it, and then buy the whole world over again. People don't get that. But yet they accept the UN. It's the media, man. The media is this hypnotic force, and it's really our duty to break that. As slowly and as steadily as we have to do it, we'll do it. But this dog and pony show, this wag the dog show, it's just being bought and lapped up by voters. That's the biggest problem. Is these are the people that vote.
And despite all of our time and effort that we've done, putting into this stuff, I found myself getting really frustrated the last few days with this Hobby Lobby thing, man. And I thought we got past all this stuff, but apparently there's still a lot of people that really buy into this dog and pony show, and they somehow, I don't know if they just like it for the drama or what, but
no, but they have strong moral convictions on one side or the other, and they forget that they're a human being. They're in the party of humanity first, before they're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, what have you. Those things are just an easy way to identify with people that kind of buy into your ideology, so you can kind of start to meld your minds and form something better, and then come together with people of opposite things and debate and get to a better society. That was the whole point. The division was there to create something better out of both. And it's so far skewed along those lines now that you even have intellectuals. You can't call yourself an intellectual if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you subscribe to a party because you don't listen enough to the other side, you're pigeonholed.
Yeah, man, I saw this funny post today, a bumper sticker that said, keep the immigrants and deport the Republicans. But I saw it and I was like, well, I wish it would have just said keep the immigrants and deport the idiots. It would just be kind of coincidentally that most of those idiots would be Republicans and Democrats. But
well, they have strong opinions about things that are. What are you going to do, man? They're human beings. So if you're on the Democrat side and you're the bleeding heart, well, yeah, we want to let them in. But if we let everyone in, we might as well just annex it. We might as well just take the whole country over and whatever. whatever may be, and that's NAFTA. Or you have the other side that says boot them all out, and then you have Prison America where me and you have no rights because we're trying to keep ourselves safe from imaginary enemies. So I don't want either of those things.
Yeah, I mean, neither side gets it. In reality, a few things need to happen. If we ever wanted to say, okay, well, why is the immigration thing happening? Well, okay, I said it a few minutes ago. We went in and knocked out like 17 governments in Latin America and replaced them with dictatorships and installed an American puppet. Okay, that's 17 of our problems right there. And then you got the big elephant in the room, the damn drug war. That these countries try to liberalize their drug laws, and guess who Big Brother comes down and says, "Oh no, you better not legalize drugs." That's us. That's our government. Mexico was on the verge of legalizing drugs not too long ago, and guess who came in and said, "Hey, we're going to cut your $15 billion a year that you get from us in Humvees and helicopters." Either that, or you don't pass these laws that allow drugs to be legal.
Yep, and then you have our test bed of Colorado, where they've already started to corporatize it, and it's going along glowingly, and it'll only add to the further corporatization of marijuana, and then eventually it'll become legal in the whole U.S., and I'm sure they'll still lobby and still hold hostage the rest of the world, whatever they can, to keep it illegal so that they become the monopoly worldwide.
Well, yeah, and then they're not going to, then they're going to, they're going to pass, they're going to legalize marijuana in a matter of years, and we all know that's coming. But then they're going to sit there and ignore the rest of the drugs. And they don't understand that it's the very idea of having a war on drugs. You can't have a war against substances. You just can't do that. You could have a war against an enemy. You can't have a war against an ideology. And really, this is just a war on the war on drugs is just a war on dissent. Because anyone that's willing to use drugs is willing to break laws that they think are unjust, and therefore those are people that are probably free-thinking type of people, and they don't want those people. They want those people in prison. Because if all those people were out of jail and they never had gotten in trouble, think about what they would have accomplished by now. I mean, who knows?
But there's always those two schools of thought, too, where they've experimented themselves with LSD and a lot of the monarch stuff, and they know how to use things for their advantage. They don't want you figuring it out and opening your own mind. But even that way of thinking is changing. I think that there's a certain segment of people within the scientific community that just don't buy into the dogma and show results and show things like mushrooms can help cure people from their stress in combat and things like that. These are remarkable new things that are being pioneered, and things are slowly starting to change. It's just up to us to, bridge the acceptance for society, because it's mostly the old folks that care about. They're the ones that watched Reefer Madness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're the ones that vote.
Right, and soon they won't vote anymore. And, the baby boomer generation still votes, but it's more like they feel they have to. And most of ours really don't, but once it goes to cell phones, they sure will.
And guess
then
what?
It'll become a real democracy.
So if you think about it, okay. So the old people are the ones that vote, right? Everyone over 40 pretty much votes. Anyone that's over 40 and white, they pretty much vote. And guess who watches TV? Those same exact demographic. So even though the majority of the people in this country, I think about 40% make up independents. However, you'll never hear about that on TV. They never talk about political independence on TV. Everything is left, right, Republican, Democrat, of course. Even though the majority of people in this country already know that the two-party system is a failure, that the politicians are failing us, guess what? They don't vote. Those people under 40 that know that shit's messed up, they don't vote. And I don't blame them, because voting, I don't know. Voting hasn't really changed much in the past 50 years. But, if you look at the demographic of the people that watch TV, what we talked about it a while back, the median age of someone that watches the O'Reilly Factor was like 72 years old, okay? So, I mean, we're talking about policy being written by the old folk, and it's affecting all the rest of us. And it's hurting the rest of us, and this drug war continues to prevail. If legalizing marijuana was set for a national ballot, I think it would pass. But that's not how it works. So we have to continue to, vote these idiots in and out of office, and until there's some kind of big time, systemic change, like you said, if we were to get decentralized voting via cell phone, and it was done by BitCongress, where it's all completely transparent and secure, then yeah, we might actually see some elections that where people that actually care about things are going to get elected. But until that point, as long as we have these these voter machines that are owned in part by George Soros interests, and this vote rigging process, and then losing ballots, and we all know what happened to Ron Paul over in Iowa when he should have won. A couple of the ballots didn't make it, and then they changed they delayed it for the weather, this, that, and the other thing. This is the kind of stuff that is not going to change until we have some kind of systemic, revolutionary change in the voting process.
Yes, it's going to. Everything will change. We'll spearhead it. I think that's the whole biggest fear that is going forward with people that have run things forever, is that they're going to have to loosen the grips. Otherwise, it's just going to be chaos. And a lot of them want it to go to chaos because they'd rather do that than lose control. And in other parts, like, wait, all this progress, all these things we built, they'll all be lost. Everything's going to be ruined if we all have this giant war or some huge conflict happens. And why don't we try something like freedom? I actually believe right now in Colorado, and it will spread from out, that they're attempting things like that. Like, that things like that are going on. It's no coincidence at the airport there and everything else that a test bed of sorts would go on there. And there's other countries around the world too, like Uruguay, right? They passed it where it's decriminalized, and even their president was smoking, I think, with one of the vice guys when he went down there and interviewed him. So everything's changing. Everything is changing, and certain people are scared that have held on to control forever, and they're getting desperate.
Yeah, man. Now here's a poll I wanted to bring up while we're on this topic. Not a poll, but just something here that is just absolutely ridiculous. 2/3 of Americans want their member of the House, which is part of Congress, booted. Okay, so 2/3 of people do not want to see their representative in the House to be reelected. But guess what? Out of the recent elections, out of 293 House and Senate members that were having to compete for their seat, guess what the score was between incumbents and challengers?
I have no idea.
291 incumbents won re-election, and only 2 challengers won.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is despite 2/3 of people that want their representative out.
Isn't this how Leland Yee got re-elected? The gangsta of Chinatown, dude. We have a guy that's a probably member of an organized crime syndicate that holds an office and was using his sway to ban guns there while lightening, I guess, the international shipping codes or something to get less of their crates checked and stuff like that. This guy's the worst. And people reelected him. And he's in jail, too, by the way, isn't he?
Well, they voted for him. But he's he's no longer, he can't be
eligible.
He's ineligible, but like 300,000 people still voted for him.
Yeah, I think he would have won.
Yeah, something like, he had 300,000 votes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. So, it's like, people get it. They understand that something's wrong, but guess what? It's not that not enough people are voting about it. It's that the system is rigged. The Republicans and Democrats have rigged the electoral system. You know how hard it is to run as an independent in this country? It's almost impossible.
Right.
And not only that, if you do get into the race, guess what? The media just completely ignores you, so you still have no chance anyway. You might as well have not ran because you don't have a chance anyway.
And that's even if you have a name, like when Ron Paul ran, they just smeared him. They'll smear him, they'll bring up stuff, they'll bring up some facetious newsletter, and then what they'll do is they won't bring out something that looks like a fake, birth certificate from who. It's ridiculous. So it's just what the media wants you to see is your reality unless you actually dig for the truth, and most people just don't.
Yeah, and look what they did to Dennis Kucinich. Same thing. He ran as a Democrat, and he got into the debates. But what happened when he got into the debates? He got ignored. I mean, he got treated like Ron Paul got treated for the Republicans. And that's just what they do. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, these people that think that they could, get in and change the Republican or the Democrat Party from the inside out, I just don't see it happening. I don't think either one of those parties are worth even trying to salvage. I mean, anyone that's trying to salvage them has probably been co-opted.
Well, they've flip-flopped a couple times, too, throughout history, that a lot of people that don't read history would know about, where, it used to be that, what was it? Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, was he not? And that was the whole party for suffrage and things like that. And then there was the Whigs, of course. So these different parties have morphed, changed their names, changed their brandings, and they're always just two sides of the same coin. One is for the emotional side, and one is for the intellectual side, right? The Republicans, we need to save money, and I believe in being conservative in values and being steadfast, and the other one wants to take risks, and nobody wants to ever play the middle, which is where almost everybody is. There's never the party of common sense or a party of humanity that serves the majority of the people. It just splits everyone into these really ineffectual subgroups.
Well, yeah, because if you had a common sense party run things, guess what would happen? The middle class would grow, and the middle class would gain wealth, and then
it'd be Canada.
If the middle class gains wealth, then who's losing wealth or not winning it at such an exponential rate?
Right.
The dudes that run things, the oligarchs. If the middle class is growing and getting more money, and people are getting out of poverty, that's money out of their pockets.
Definitely. I mean, you have to question the end game, because unless there's some kind of hidden stuff we don't know about, do the people at the top still not need people? I mean, what's going to happen when nobody has money for anything? Do you really think people are just going to be like, sure, I'll get a microchip and just be plugged in, and I'll go do whatever you tell me to do, and it's not going to work out like that. Like, they tried it before in World War II, like they did. Like, people tried to attack freedom, and people never want to give it up. They won't.
Yeah, I mean, that's all these guys do from both sides of the aisle. They're both big government. They're both big spending. One prefers to spend it on extreme bureaucratic stuff. The other one prefers to spend it on extreme foreign policy. But I'll tell you what, they do make a few compromises, and when they do, it's when the warhawks compromise to create bureaucracy. That's when the bureaucrats compromise to create war. Right. Those are the compromises that they make. They don't compromise on any. If they wanted to get rid of student debt, guess what? Sorry, guys, we're not going to compromise on that.
Or the real puppet masters will take advantage of humanitarian crisis and come in through the back door, and then the two parties will let them in with open arms. We need the Why do we need the UN's help? I still haven't heard a politician come up with a good reason as why we're so strapped for cash we can't take care of our own border. It doesn't make any sense.
We got 1,000 military bases around the world, and at the same time, we got to bring the UN in to take care of our dirty business.
We didn't even need them for Katrina. They weren't there for Katrina. FEMA took care of the that was way bigger than this. This is simply just a little prod, a little test, a little nudge, see what happens.
Yeah, and
see how it works.
They're coming in on Detroit's water. I mean,
that's our water, man. That feeds the farmlands, the Great Lakes.
Yeah. So I mean, I just can't believe it. I mean, here's the thing, man. What we should do for Detroit is create the biggest crowdfunding campaign that's ever existed.
The city.
And then send it over and just buy out all the past due water bills over there, man. And then
let's buy the city and just give it to the people there for free. They just have to pay the taxes every year.
That would be sick too.
$700 a year house. Enjoy, sir. I know it's beat, but fix it up. It's yours now. You got the deed.
Now I hear that a lot of these the creditors of Detroit, basically, a lot of these banks and stuff. Now, from what I've read, these guys are getting like primo deals on all the best prime, commercial property out there in Detroit.
Right, they're
getting favored deals because they're creditors of the city, and you know how the city went bankrupt, so they're getting all these sweetened deals in order to make up for this debt that they owed.
Right.
So I mean, there's a lot of big corporations and banks that are getting huge chunks of Detroit.
Well, yeah, Detroit's becoming what it was in RoboCop. You know what I mean? Like, the city's no longer a city; it's now a corporate-owned residential entity.
Yeah, basically, man. And now they're bringing in the UN to go in and provide the water for this stuff. I mean, I just can't believe that we're allowing this to happen. The fact that we've got the money to send everywhere else and do all these other things, and we just can't do we can't do that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. How many helicopters did we just send over to Iraq? I mean, and how much do these helicopters cost?
Yep.
So I mean, for the amount that we just sent over there, we could have got all of these people in Detroit their water back.
Yeah. Well, like, we can see what's going on. One's on the northern border, one's on the southern. One's a water supply, one's, of course, going to come up and create a humanitarian crisis and spread disease and all kinds of instability, and, of course, bring out all these latent racists that will probably go against anything that doesn't look exactly like them and makes them uncomfortable. And that's going to bring out all these other crazies. And it's a nice little stirring of the pot down here, Nick. We're in a little tinder keg.
Yeah, man. Now, I'm sure everyone heard about these dudes that turned back these buses or whatever. And all I can say about these people, what was it, Marietta, I think it was?
Yeah.
I mean, these are part of the people that are in this poll. Okay, I got this poll here. Obama has just been polled to be the worst president since World War II. Okay. They even rate him worse than George Bush, just slightly though. I think Bush was at like 28% and Obama was at like 32%, something like that. So I mean, rightfully so. I mean, they're both up there as pretty bad. So, all these people that were out there at this, turning this bus back, these are all, impeach Obama type, Tea Party types. I mean, I've met and I've protested alongside a bunch of them here in San Diego, albeit we're protesting for different things, but, I mean, I've had some fair conversations with these people and some pretty irrational conversations as well. But I mean, these are all people that are part of this, okay, we're completely done with Bush. Right?
Right.
And now there's another from the same Gallup poll, or no, from a previous Gallup poll. There's a poll out of Gallup, and it just asked who are the worst presidents and stuff. Nixon, I believe, got third place. Is that our sense of freedom is dropping?
Yep.
That's what this new Gallup poll finds, and that Americans are less satisfied with the freedom to choose what to do with their lives. And the poll also showed a uptick in perceived corruption, where people are actually starting to realize, okay, yeah, the majority of people think that there is definitely open corruption in this country. So everyone gets it. I mean,
right. They just don't.
Most people are getting it. Yeah, they're getting it. But just like these people that turned back this bus today, they got all this passion and all this anger and all this hate, but it's misdirected, and it's such a classic co-opting. And it's just so blatant. It's like, oh my God, these people have so much energy and stuff, but it's completely misplaced. They're trying to place all this blame on these immigrants, which are basically refugees.
Right.
And like we talked about earlier, these people are getting out of this place that our government created. We created these problems.
Right. I mean, that's why I'm saying there's really just two solutions that are going to be presented by our government. And one of them's probably literally going to be like, go down and just take them over and just fight the cartels with our own. Who knows? Maybe the DHS will fight the cartels. Who knows? I have no idea what kind of parade they'll try to create out of this whole debacle. But the humanitarian crisis is just simply created by making so much instability through the last century, really. When we started with gunboat diplomacy and Teddy Roosevelt, when we blockade coasts and make countries do whatever we want and get in there with companies and destroy their local economies, provide all the infrastructure for our own commodities, but strip mine theirs, and the people have nothing left when we kind of kill out whatever plantations have been wiped out. I mean, we turned Honduras pretty much into a wasteland for a good decade or two through the United Fruit Company. So, Yeah, man. It's things that we've done for a long time. They will eventually come home to roost. There's just it's so violent and horrible down there that anybody would run up here because it's a nightmare. It's worse than Iraq down there. More people are dying.
Yeah, and Ciudad Juarez, it's basically the most violent city in the world possibly outside of Syria, so maybe a few cities in Syria now that they got the civil war going, which, by the way, we're also backing. So, of course, in the future, we're going to see a bunch of Syrian people that are refugees that are going to be coming because the country is flattened. It's almost basically flattened. Have you seen the pictures? I mean, it's absolutely insane of what's going on over there, man.
Yeah, the mortars. The mortar shells, now I've seen so many like security cameras from apartments in just random places that are just getting flattened, dude, and nobody's surviving. You're inside of your building, the sound wave will concuss you and you'll just die. And it's just insane. It's insane.
And all these refugees, I mean, let's put it this way. It's gotten so bad in Syria, which, by the way, if you guys didn't know, it's a proxy war, basically. Russia is funding Assad, and we're funding the rebels, either directly or indirectly. Now, the situation is so bad in Syria that these guys are going into Iraq. I mean, they're like, we're trying to get out of Syria, we're just going to go to Iraq. Well, they may have family over there, but at least it's better than what's going on in Syria. And we all know that the situation in Iraq is very bad.
It's grim.
Okay, and now Turkey, I mean, something like 2 million people have fled into Turkey by now already. Okay, I mean, this is a huge migration.
And what is Turkey going to do? Because Turkey now has a burgeoning state on their southern border with the Kurds, and they really don't want to tolerate that. They have an extreme dislike of them, probably similar to how they feel about Armenians, at least from a governmental standpoint, where they're just pesky kind of people that have always nibbled on their borders of what they consider the old Ottoman Empire, pretty much, borders. So you have all this division and crazy sectarian stuff going on there, and it gets just worse and worse by design. And now it's crazy. If you mention that, people leave Syria to go to Iraq because it's a little safer. It's just insane.
Yeah, man. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. And now when as things progress, we're going to see a lot of these immigrants. Of course, we saw a lot of Iraqis come into the country after we invaded Iraq in 2003. So we're going to start seeing a lot of Syrians coming into the country, man. And once again, these immigration crises are manufactured by us. It's of our own making. It's our foreign policy that is causing all these places to become so destabilized that the people just want to get the hell out of there and abandon their own families and abandon their own homeland. And if you think about it, I mean, most people don't want to do that. People don't want to abandon their families, leave their cities, their towns, their countries.
No, their culture.
I mean, they don't want to leave their culture, yeah. Why would anybody want to do that? It's not like they're doing it because they just want to. People aren't coming up here because they think they're going to get Obamacare, believe me.
No, they don't want that.
No.
They have traditional medicine they'll probably bring up.
They're running because it's become such a violent situation down in their home countries. A lot of the cause done by us and other colonial interests in the Spanish that came before us, and all the damage that they did, we came in and compounded that damage with the foreign policy that we did. I mean, it's the same way we were able to build the Panama Canal, by destabilizing the government while we sent guys in there to just go build this thing out. I mean, that's what we did.
Yep, and it's spilling over. It's constantly. I mean, it's spilling over now with Israel going in and taking out Gaza and the West Bank because of the teenagers that were slain. It's spilling over everywhere in that whole area. I mean, if Saudi Arabia and Iran get at it because of a lot of the secret kind of war going on between them, that place will just, then we'll see the strait shut, and it's just going to be one of the global economic killers because it shuts down the flow of the oil and it diverts everybody's military resources to that region, and it makes this massive proxy war.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned this Israeli thing because that's kind of what I wanted to jump into next year. Because now, don't forget, Israel's been carrying out airstrikes on Assad.
Yep.
Okay, and they carry out clandestine attacks and bombings here and there. They take out scientists in Iran, things like that. You know, we all know that. They work with us, and they work with the British. We all work together. That's like the trifecta. Us, the Israelis, the Americans, and the British are like the spying and the cyber intelligence and the black ops. You know, we're the trifecta. That's us. And that's what they do all around the region, man. And now, this thing with these 3 Israeli kids that got kidnapped. Now, I'm not trying to say this isn't a tragedy. You know, this is horrible that this kind of violence has to go on. But I just find it, hypocritical for the media to decide to cover the fact that these 3 Israeli boys got kidnapped and killed, and this is making headline news, when the fact is that over 1,500 Palestinian children have been killed by Israel since 2000, at the rate of 1 death every 3 days, right?
Think about that. I mean, if that happened here, if rockets kept coming over our border and killing people just randomly, and then it kept being children, it would make you insane. Because you're like, dude, if they're so indiscriminate with it, like, nobody's ever safe anytime, and they just don't even view us as humans.
Dude, those people in these war zones are becoming so traumatized mentally that I doubt there's hardly even any sane people left over there, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, they've all probably got PTSD.
PTSD like crazy because it's from how young.
I've seen some stats in Yemen, I believe it is, where we're talking about like 75% plus of the population technically should be diagnosed with PTSD. I mean, so we're talking about a bunch of people that are completely traumatized, that are inevitably ending up in the positions of power, that are making these rash decisions. And just like Netanyahu, I mean, these kids got picked up, killed. Hamas, which normally, I mean, these are the kind of guys that would take credit for this kind of thing if they did it. And they've denied it from the very beginning. And when they said the bodies were found, they came out and denied it. But yet, at the same time, Netanyahu gets on, he's like, oh, Hamas is responsible, and then boom, they launched 30 airstrikes. They dropped 30 bombs in the Gaza Strip over these 3 kids. But only have been killed since 2000. That's compared to the 1,500 Palestinian children. Yet the media never talks about Palestinian people being killed. It's absolutely wild. I mean,
they don't have their own media. Where's their own media on the internet? They need to have their own press TV or their own RT or their own Al Jazeera. They just don't have anybody inside that can tell their own story at a level where it'll get out there and be professional. And that'd be a first step, because I can't get a good clue of what's going on from their side. And for all I know, the people there are stuck between some crazy groups that will kill them if they pretty much go against them, and then this major modern army that, they try to do precision hits or whatever and be humanitarian, but there's no such thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the very point of contention, for a lot of the Middle East. And, the fact is, I think that considering that it's more of a religious ground than it should be considered an actual country, like where there's an actual ethnicity, because so many different people affiliate with that area, whether you're Christian, Jewish, or Muslim. I mean, I don't believe in a 2-state solution, really. I really don't. It should be more of a no-state solution and just be some kind of, what are they called, those sites, I forget what they're called, like a heritage site, basically, man, where it's just not run by a government, it's not run by a state. I mean, it's just basically a humanitarian place where people can go because that's where they worship. You know what I'm saying? For it to be controlled, and once again, think about it. Who established Israel in the first place? It was Britain and America. Yep. It was us. We're responsible for the whole thing that's going on down there, man. Now let's not. I mean, it's been an area of contention since who knows how long. I mean, it's been contended for a long time. But then we made the choice to go and stick our nose in the middle of it, and now look at us now. How many billions do we send Israel? I mean, probably for 1 day's worth of foreign aid to Israel, we could probably end the whole Detroit crisis. I mean, look how deep we've gotten ourselves, and now we've made all this point of contention. All these wars in the Middle East are more in one way or another being fought over this area, and it's just once again a manufactured American foreign policy blunder. Now, if we look at our foreign policy, and we could either look at it of two ways, and I haven't made a decision on which way I look at it. I may lean one way or another, but it's either you can either look at it and say, okay, either the government and these bureaucrats that are making these decisions to do all this foreign policy that tends to always backfire on us, either they're just extremely stupid or they're trying to do this stuff on purpose.
They're doing it on purpose, and they can't let on that it's a game, otherwise they lose their part in it. They lose their role. It's just that simple, man. People know already. The jig is up. The people really do know what's up, and now the problem is getting over the cognitive dissonance and figuring out what we can do about it before they decide to, I don't know, take matters into their own hands and make sure that they can survive what's coming, which is our economic collapse, man. People aren't prepared. They're going to go really crazy, and it's just our job to get, especially your immediate family, get them ready. Get them ready soon. It's a month or two maybe away. Like, I used to say that sometimes and not really believe it, but now too many things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's about getting our ducks in order. Self-reliance, man. Self-reliance. Thoreau taught it so well. I mean, it's got to be our way of life, and that's where our society started going wrong. It's when we started falling into this post-50s lifestyle where, like, well, maybe we don't have to plant a garden anymore. We can, go to the grocery store and do it that way, and, maybe we don't have to go to the hardware store anymore. We can go to Sears and do that kind of thing. And it really is the maturing of the Industrial Revolution, more or less, I believe, is this consumerism kind of lifestyle. But guess what? The Industrial Revolution has come and it's gone. The revolution is over. Now it just sucks. Now it just sucks for the most part, for the most amount of people. Yeah, a few guys benefit from it. But now is time, and we talked about it last show, and as we move up to this next level of civilization, it's the open source revolution. It's not the industrial revolution and the government and the patent revolution and everybody patenting their stuff and everyone charging an arm and a leg for their medicines and driving the cost of birth control. I mean, I don't even know. Someone was telling me today, I got into a talk with somebody, and they were saying, yeah, well, the thing is that this birth control isn't cheap. It's very, very expensive. I didn't get into the numbers, but I'm guessing that this stuff could cost maybe, $50 to $100 a month. And that is a lot of money. And that's also because of this industrial revolution style capitalism where it's all about patenting everything and hoarding everything and monopolizing everything. That time is gone, man. And if we don't realize that soon, I mean, that's really going to be our downfall, because economy is what underwrites any civilization. Economy underwrites your civilization, and agriculture underwrites your economy. So, I mean, these are the steps that we got to take in order to, make a move towards a more open source, democratized economy, democratized rulership, where it's more autonomy for the local areas, the communities, the states, the cities, whatever, and the communities, man. I mean, it's all about building community, building economy that is off of this corporate crap, man. I mean, more and more I still haven't done it just because I don't have the extra money outside of the stuff I need to pay bills and stuff yet, but I really want to get into this Bitcoin, man, and because I think that if you can get enough people in your area to use it, enough businesses, enough entrepreneurs, enough consumers, then you don't have to really have cash in certain communities. You wouldn't really need cash or Federal Reserve notes or whatever. You would have these alternatives. You would have the hard currency. You would have community-based currency that whatever it is you make up for your community, whether it's hemp or marijuana or whiskey or whatever. I mean, we got to open source the whole thing, stop the monopoly ideology, man, and this is our way to get out from under this crisis, this whole global economic system that who knows what's going to happen. I mean, Our only way out of it is by open source revolution. Forget about the industrial revolution. Forget about this old idea of capitalism. It's time to evolve and move on to the next level. You guys, happy Friday. Yeah.